Darius Cooper is staking his claim to the Philadelphia Eagles 53-man roster. All offseason, you've heard the reporting about there being some ups and downs, some ebbs and flows to the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Well, there's been, to my opinion, one really big consistency that's standing out to me amongst a very deep wide receiver room. Remember, it wasn't just a few weeks ago we were having a conversation on the fact that somebody who is worthy of a roster spot is likely getting cut at the wide receiver position. It looks like Darius Cooper is very aware of that situation, and he is building upon what he left on the field in 2025, and he's looking like a guy that you just cannot leave off of the roster. He looks like a guy that is going to earn a roster spot because he's taking the situation seriously. He's going out there and being consistent, and when his number is called, he's answering the call. Reporting just came out today that Darius Cooper has now been taking some first-team reps, and it seems like, at least for today's practice in particular, he's being elevated above Johnny Wilson. And I will say this, guys, we can't count our chickens before they hatch. We don't know yet, right? I mean, you're talking about the first week of camp, a long time still to go, preseason games still to go, joint practices still to go. You ain't at the finish line yet. We're just starting the race. However, man, Darius Cooper, it's like day after day, he's stacking these practices together, and he's being productive. And I don't think that can be ignored, man, because I definitely think when you look at the fact that you have to get physical inside of this system, right? We know that we're going to see far more under center snaps, and we don't know the exact percentage, guys, but we know we're trending that way. There's going to be an advancement in terms of how often we go under center. And we know that we're going to be playing a lot more condensed or reduced splits. Basically what that means, guys, is when you reduce, you're inside the numbers, okay? To where when you're in a plus split, the receivers are outside the numbers. You're going to see more of that stuff, which gives you an indicator that these guys are going to be involved in the run game. You got to get physical, right? We've been talking about who's going to be that boundary side, X-aligned, split end wide receiver. We've been talking about being able to get physical from the slot, right? Talking about Mekhi Lemon and the fact that he's not a huge guy, but he's a physical player, right? Darius Cooper's also not a super tall guy. I think him and Mekhi Lemon are fairly close in stature in terms of the height. But Darius Cooper got a little bit of weight behind him, and he could actually go up there and thump you in the run game. We talked about Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson with that huge 6'6", 230-pound frame. We've been having these discussions all offseason, the fact that we know that we're talking about marrying the run game to the pass game. These receivers have got to go out there and give 100% effort, even if, they're just basically going out there to block it up. And then also, we know that the roles are going to matter. So if you're in a bunch or you're in a 3-by-1 stack, if you're going to play to the weak side of formation, which is generally speaking normally the boundary, so you're going to be in that split end X-aligned role, you might have to honestly give yourself, to the team in that situation, because it could become very important for you to must outside release, get vertical, and open up the spacing in the middle, right? When I say in the middle, guys, not necessarily the hashes. I'm talking about in between the numbers. A little broader of a space than what is normally discussed, but nonetheless, that's what I'm alluding to when I say that, guys. You've got to give effort when you're not getting the target. You've got to give effort when it's in the run game, right? And then when your number is called, you got to answer that call. And I got to tell you, from what I've seen so far in camp, there's one guy that it just seems like every time that call is getting made, he's picking up the phone. And it looks like the coaches are taking notice if the guy's getting first-team reps. And that's Darius Cooper. It's a crazy story for a young man that was undrafted. I'll be honest, I didn't know a whole lot about this young man before he got into camp with the Eagles last year. Coming out of Tarleton State, the biggest piece of information I remember about him before I finally went to go take a look at his tape and see a little bit about the player is I remember people kind of talking about him never playing in a huddled offense before. Really and honestly, like the fact that he's going to have to learn where you stand and what you do in a huddle and how that affects the offense, to make sure that you know how to actually huddle, because I can't put you on the field if you can't do that very freaking basic thing, right? That's how far this guy had to start. Man, when you talk about, starting from the bottom, my man started from about as far to the bottom as you can get, and he's worked his way up. And it's players like this that I think the whole team is going to get excited about. They're going to rally around if this guy is showing you that, look, he already did it the year prior, and now this young man is advancing even further on his game. This is the kind of thing that I think excites the team, right? When, you feel bad for your brothers who don't make the team, right? Those people who went to battle, went to war with you in camp, and those dudes, they don't get that call. Of course that hurts. But man, if you can pad that by having a story like Darius Cooper, where everybody recognizes, yeah, man, that dude should be on the team. He's come out here and, when you talk about earning your spot, this dude is earning the damn spot. He's earning everything. Nothing is being handed to this guy. He's coming out here and playing with physicality in terms of the actual special teams production. This man can play in the run game, and when his number's called, the damn dude's making plays. For me, man, this is the guy that I think you have got to find a way to keep on your 53-man roster. And I know it sucks because what I'm talking about is somebody else is potentially getting left off, if not two people getting left off, right? You could potentially be leaving off a Johnny Wilson. You could potentially, leaving off a player like an Elijah Moore. And I will stress this one more time. I don't think that this race is done yet. I'm talking about if it continues and carries on the way it's carrying on. Darius Cooper completely earning his job. I just think it's a feel-good story for the offense. And I think this offense, all season, off-season, we've been hearing this said about cohesion and unity, right? Essentially getting it down to it is removing distractions, playing as one, and being on the same page. We've heard that all offseason. I just think a message like Darius Cooper going out there and being this unheralded guy and making plays in camp and earning his spot. I don't know, man. Something about this team feels different to me, right? There's no feeling to me when I look across the actual roster, especially at the skill positions. I don't get that entitlement feeling. I don't get that feeling where some people feel like they're due something. These dudes all know they're not due crap. And anything that they want to go seek, they got to go earn it, right? Dontavian Wicks isn't guaranteed shit in terms of being the number 2 wide receiver. He knows he's got to go out there and go earn it. He knows they drafted a dude in the first round that at some point in time they're going to probably want to see on the damn field at a certain percentage of snaps. He's going to get on the field, no doubt, but you get my point, right? Mekhi Lemon knows. Mekhi Lemon knows that, he's not necessarily the man in this offense. Devontae Smith is here. Devontae Smith is got, former Heisman Trophy winner. This is a man that's, he's done it all in the NFL. He's hoisted the Lombardi Trophy, right? And then you got this other guy in Dontavian Wicks who's super, talented, has had some consistency issues from time to time, but seems to be taking the challenge seriously, and he's out there busting his ass to earn the spot, right? Mekhi Lemon himself, right? He knows when he looks across his roster that he's got to live up to the expectations, or it won't be long before other dudes start to outplay him and start take playing time away from him. And I love the fact that he's being worked in as a punter. I told you guys when we did the Samori Tour video, I told you that was probably going to happen. With that said, then you get to the guys like Darius Cooper and Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown being the veteran, guy that's been in the league the longest out of all these guys so far that we're talking about. And Hollywood Brown, was once upon a time a number 1 wide receiver in a spot, back with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. A guy that, as your number 4, the ideal dude. He's the ideal guy as a number 4 wide receiver because if anyone goes down, you feel very comfortable with him slipping in and playing the role. And then last but not least, if you're keeping 5, at this point in time, guys, I got to throw my hat out there and just say, I think it's got to be Darius Cooper. It's time to change that opinion. But I just think given what we've seen so far from camp, what we know this young man can do in terms of the offense, and the fact that there seems to be some type of cohesion, some type of unity here, some type of chemistry with Jalen Hurts. I don't think you can, sleep on that. I don't think you can, undervalue that. I think that crap matters more than a lot of people understand, and, I would like to see this young man actually make the roster. And I know that we've talked about other guys that are on the back end fighting to get on here. Ezu, a few other people. We talked about Torrey. There's a few other guys that are fighting. Elijah Moore, right? It's not just Johnny Wilson. There are other guys fighting, and they might keep 6, and that's going to be an interesting conversation in terms of what you do if you keep 6. Man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see exactly how they shape the offense and exactly what it looks like from a personnel scheming standpoint, what they try to do, right? How often are they going under center, right? What is the ratio of going under center and play action passing versus being in shotgun and doing things such as your basic RPO based stuff, right? We talked about a little bit of that yesterday, and I showed you guys a play and kind of how you structure RPO plays, and that ratio is going to matter, right? Because we know that it appears like either the quarterback, the organization, the front office, or maybe all 3 levels of this, they want to take some of these hits off of Jalen Hurts. Going under center, maybe doing a little bit less at the mesh point to where Jalen could take the ball in RPO and run, doing those type of things, right? Like that stuff's going to matter a little bit. And I mean, I just want guys that are going to answer the call. To me, when you look at Darius Cooper, he's the guy that I see on the back end of the roster that right now at this point in time, I feel like I trust the most to answer the call. And I like Johnny Wilson. I think Johnny Wilson has a lot of upside in terms of red zone target. I'm not saying that count Johnny Wilson out of this competition, guys. Don't mistake what I'm saying. We're not there to that point yet. But what I am saying is that this is a hell of a competition. I think right now, if I were to, cast my lot here, I'm going to say Darius Cooper. But damn, this is going to be good. I can't wait for us to hit into the preseason games. We can see these dudes play in extended roles. Because I definitely think like Ezu, I think that, Samari Torrey being a guy who has experience in the system. I think, looking at like Elijah Moore, who's another guy that once upon a time was a featured player in an offense. Johnny Wilson has all the upside in the world. I worry about his ability to separate at times, but, I'm willing to see where the young man's at. We know he can play physically. And then you got this guy like Darius Cooper who can just absolutely, play strong and play through contact and just, does everything. He does all the dirty work. And I hate it when guys like that get, kind of left out of the conversation. When people just kind of discount them because they're doing the stuff no one else wants to do. Darius Cooper deserves to be on the roster for what I've seen so far through this first week of camp, guys. And I hope that it works out that way. I mean, I don't have a say over it, guys, but I hope that's how it works out. All right, y'all. If you guys want more coverage, I did actually, if you guys are like, oh, Gabe, come on, man, I thought you were on the Johnny Wilson train. I did cover Johnny Wilson early on in the spring, and I'll throw that video up right here if you want to see what I said about Johnny Wilson and the fact that Johnny Wilson was kind of coming on in the spring, and now we're seeing Darius Cooper kind of come on as we got into camp now in the summer. Hey, I mean, they're out there for you to look at, guys, and I definitely think that both players, is going to be a hell of a fight, man. Over here, guys, I'll throw you up another video that kind of goes over something like scheme or another player evaluation. We'll do something like that. And with that said, guys, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. I'll see y'all on the next video.